Okay,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
looks like we are live on YouTube, so we will have a recording that way, so that's good. So Madam Chair, we can begin the public hearing. Oh, and if you press the button to make the circle go green. Yep.
Gotcha. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Catherine Middlebrook, and I am the Vice Chair of the Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines Commission. It is now 1:34, and the July 16th public hearing is called to order. This hearing is taking place in the Afton Room at the Department of Corrections Central Office, 1450 Energy Park Drive, St. Paul, Minnesota. I am here along with Commissioners Castro and Moore and Director Nate Wrights. The public hearing has a remote access option by telephone or interactive technology, and instructions for remote participation have been posted on our website at mn.gov/sentencing-guidelines/meetings. Some commission members are participating by telephone or interactive technology. Those commissioners are Commissioner Ladd, Commissioner Keefe, Commissioner Morin, and Commissioner Mueller. Did I get all of them?
Yes, ma'am.
The purpose of the hearing. The public hearing is being held to consider proposed modifications to the 2025 Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines and Commentary resulting from the Commission's review of the 2026 regular session laws and technical modifications to improve the sentencing guidelines. The first part A, legislative amendments to crimes affecting the sentencing guidelines, the 2026 regular session are effective August 1, 2026. And B, technical amendments to the sentencing guidelines effective August 1, 2026. You may access a complete copy of the proposed modifications on our website at mn.gov/sentencing-guidelines/meetings. These have been available on the website since June 15th, the same day the notice of this hearing was published in the State Register. There are a limited number of public inspection copies available in this room, together with website access information. As for the public hearing procedures, if you wish, you may make spoken or written statements today regarding the proposed modifications. You may also address questions about the proposed modifications to the Commission, its staff, or witnesses. And if you made a spoken statement, the Commission or its staff may ask questions of you. Members of the public who register to testify before today will be called first in the order they registered. If you would like to testify about the proposed modifications today and you have not registered yet, you must first register your name, address, telephone number, and the names of any individuals or associations that you represent in connection with the hearing. If you're here in person, please sign in with the staff now. If you are attending remotely, please email your registration information to staff at sentencing.guidelines@state.mn.us right away. You will then receive the meeting access information. If you have trouble, you may call staff at 651-296-0144. After everyone has testified, the public hearing will end. The Commission will hold the record open for 5 calendar days after the public hearing to accept written comment. Written materials must be received no later than July 21st. Anyone who wishes to provide a written statement may do so in one of 3 ways. 1, by delivering the written statement to the public hearing today. 2, by sending the written statement by United States mail to Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines Commission, 658 Cedar Street, Suite G-58, St. Paul, Minnesota 55155, or 3, by emailing the written statement to sentencing.guidelines@state.mn.us. The Commission will give due consideration to all written comments received within the 5-day comment period, as well as all written comments received up until now. The commission will meet next Thursday, July 23rd at 1:30 p.m. to finally adopt or reject its proposals. That meeting will take place in this room with remote participation optional. One person, Director Nate Wrights, has registered to testify today. Do you want to go forward?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Nate Wrights. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines Commission. And I just wanted to bring to the Commission's attention, but really my ulterior motive is to bring it to the public's attention that there are 2 public comments that the Commission has received to date. And I think it's only fair if there are people who feel otherwise in these public comments. By letting them know this, they will have an opportunity to respond to the materials that were presented in the public comments. So one of the public comments was from me, and it had to do with an error in our recommendation, or at least I perceive it as an error in our recommendation. We had recommended that the commission rank theft from a vulnerable adult at over $35,000 of theft of over $35,000 from a vulnerable adult at severity level 7. And the error was essentially an implication that generally applied to theft from a vulnerable adult. But insofar as it pertains to the legislature's creation of this new penalty enhancement for theft, if the theft victim is a vulnerable adult, which is the commission's intent here, is ranking that enhanced offense. The over $35,000 threshold in the theft statute is not generally applicable. It only applies to a specified subset of the ways of committing theft. Now, I will say that in my opinion, 2 of those subsets are probably going to be generally pretty applicable to thefts from a vulnerable adult. One of them is theft by deception, also known as theft by false representation or theft by fraud, and that does, one subset of that involves theft by check. Those, I think it's quite plausible that could be how someone steals from a vulnerable adult. The other is theft by swindle. I also could see that as being applicable to a vulnerable adult. So the recommended change would limit it would still keep the recommendation at theft over $35,000 at severity level 7, but ensure that it's clear that that's not a generally applicable threshold, that it only applies if one of those particular ways of committing theft is at issue in the particular case. So, for example, plain old theft, I guess, theft with intent to permanently deprive someone of the property. The over $35,000 threshold would not apply. Instead, it would merely be the over $5,000 threshold. But again, if it were theft by swindle or theft by deceit, then yes, the $35,000 severity level 7 threshold would apply. So that was, and otherwise, as far as the commission goes, I would rely on my written comments for that. There were also some technical changes having to do with listing the penalty provisions in the offense severity reference table, and some incorrect alphabetization or incorrect numbering in the Section 5B of the guidelines. The other written comment that we received was from the Attorney General, and that had to do with the Commission's proposed ranking of Medicaid fraud, medical assistance fraud over $1 million at severity level 7. And the Attorney General is recommending ranking at severity level 8. So, as I said at the outset, Madam Chair, my intent here is to basically put the public on notice. As you will inform us all in a few minutes, the public does have 5 days to submit additional written comments. So I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware that in addition to what was put out in the public hearing notice 30 days ago, we now have 2 additional issues. One is narrowing the severity level 7 theft from a vulnerable adult to the enumerated statutes identified in the over $35,000 statute in 60952 subdivision 3 parens 1. And secondly, it's now in play whether or not the medical assistance fraud over $1 million would be ranked at severity level 8 rather than severity level 7. that concludes my comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Wrights. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So when you're talking about on the theft from a vulnerable adult that's over 35,000, the applicable theft provisions, you've got those in your written comment, you've got those listed in the chart.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And all of those are the statutory applicable ones. I will say, you know, in thinking of plausible scenarios, it escapes. I'm not creative enough to imagine how, for example, wage theft or corporate embezzlement would apply to theft from a vulnerable adult, but nevertheless, those are listed because I listed all of the statutory references to which the over $35,000 penalty is applied.
Okay, and that, do you think that you could also explain a little bit about the note? Because that looks like a change too from the proposal, where the note is on when there's the risk of harm.
Yeah, so Section 5B of the guidelines. So Section 5A is the offense severity reference table, where offenses are listed in order of severity, and then within equal severity levels, they're listed alphabetically. Section 5B of the guidelines lists all offenses by statute number, and they're all sequentially listed by statute number. And there was a mistake in how the offenses are currently listed because if I recall correctly, in a revisor land, basically the way the revisor's office numbers things, there's 3 comes before 3A. And that's assuming the A is not in parentheses, but it's basically part of the 3. So 3A is kind of a number that exists between 3 and 4, if you will. And there was a mistake in how that was listed in 5B right now, where some 3s were listed after 3A, and those heretofore 3A has only applied to basically it's a sentence modifier, statutory sentence modifier, if you will, that applies to thefts where the theft results in a risk of bodily harm. And the statute adds to 3A this new thefts against a vulnerable adult, also provides a sentence modifier for that. And essentially, some of those technical corrections are designed to correct the order so that it reads in numerical order. And part of that was also putting up front the penalty provisions for theft of a vulnerable adult. So I think it'll read in a natural way so that the offenses are somewhat grouped together, but also that they're organized by proper statute. So that the vulnerable adults, because they pertain to the different, they're linked to whether it's 3(1), 3(2), 3(3). Those are listed first, and then the 3A provision is listed after that, and then the provisions for theft involving a risk of bodily harm, those are listed primarily under their 3A provision. So they are listed after all the 3s are listed. So it's getting pretty deep into the weeds as far as technical guideline stuff. But that's how Section 5B of the guidelines is designed. It's designed to be listed in statute number order, and so we're just basically trying to correct that while still trying to group things together in a way that the reader will be able to kind of be able to follow the plot, if you will, as far as why these things are ranked the way they ranked.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Director Wrights? So that concludes the testimony of those who registered to testify in advance. As a reminder, if you would like to testify and you have not registered yet, please sign up with staff now. If you're attending remotely, please email your registration information to staff at sentencing.guidelines@state.mn.us right away. If you have any trouble, call staff at 651-296-0144.
And if I can just clarify for members of the public online, I note that we're here in the Afton Room at Department of Corrections. Nobody from the public is here. It's all commission members or staff. If but there are some members of the public who are listed online. I'm not going to be asking, this is not like a commission meeting where I'll be asking for you to raise your hand, because we are required under the rules that govern this hearing to register everybody in advance. So we have to have these very specific pieces of information from you before we can allow you to speak. That's why I'm not going to be asking you to raise your hand. So you have to contact the MSGC office right away by email and or by telephone so that we can register you to speak. I'm not going to be asking for folks to raise their hands. So if you're accustomed to how meetings normally work, this is not like a normal meeting. So Madam Chair, if you could just repeat the email and the telephone number for the members of the public, please.
Okay, so the email is that you email your registration to staff at sentencing.guidelines@state.mn.us. And if you're having trouble, call staff at 651-296-0144. And then we give them 2 minutes now to do that.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, Madam Chair.
Okay, so if you do want to testify, call or email within the next 2 minutes. So right now it is 1:50, and we'll wait 2 minutes to see if there's anyone that wants to testify.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to mute this room at this time. Apparently, I am not the host. Oh, there we go. All right, the room is now unmuted. Sorry.
Okay, start over. Okay, the time is now 1:55 and more than 2 minutes have passed. Staff informs me that we have no additional people who have registered to testify. As no one else has registered to testify, that concludes the business of today's public hearing. Again, the record of this public hearing will remain open for 5 calendar days after today through July 21st to receive additional written comments. Please submit any written comments to the commission's email address at sentencing.guidelines@state.mn.us. The public hearing is adjourned.